Hello, and welcome to What is Innovation, the podcast that explores the reality of a word that is in danger of losing its meaning altogether. This podcast is produced by Outlast Consulting, LLC, a boutique consultancy that helps companies use innovation principles to solve their toughest business problems. I'm your host, Jared Simmons, and I'm so excited to have Nguyen on the show today. Hung, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Hung and I go way back. She had the misfortune of managing me as part of a team during her time at McKinsey, and unfortunately, she hasn't been able to get rid of me ever since. So I really appreciate you making the time.
It's like a fungal infection. Will never completely be gone.
I hope you're right. Hung leads the Digital Center of Expertise at BP. Her vision is to recruit, develop, and deploy talent in a radical way to increase teams' engagement and purpose. Prior to BP, she worked at McKinsey & Company as a strategy consultant focused on organizational effectiveness. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology and economics from Harvard College and an MBA from Stanford Graduate School of Business. Her interests in behavioral science and decision making extend beyond work and into her proudest real life psych experiments, her 3 daughters, and pup, Cowboy. And I think that bio tells you everything you need to know about Hung. So I'm looking forward to a great discussion. Um, this is the first episode of our podcast, and so just a little bit about the format. What we'll do is every week we're going to talk to a different person, and we're going to explore what is innovation as a question, what isn't innovation, and then we'll talk a bit about how each person's experience has been shaped by innovation as part of their career and otherwise. And so I'm hoping that we'll get to see things from a lot of different angles and learn a lot from a lot of different people. So what we'll do is get started today, and the way would like to kick things off is to talk to you, Hung, a bit about innovation. So, what is innovation in your mind?
In my mind, innovation is about being creative and trying new things, regardless of how big or small the idea is. So, this could be new combinations, permutations, ideas that haven't been tried before, ideas that have been tried before but weren't executed successfully. So, all of these things encompass innovation. And while some of the ideas will be great and fruitful, others might be terrible. But it's the process of trying new ideas for you, the person, or your team, or really your organization to continue progressing. Because without innovation, you might become stagnant and irrelevant and stop growing.
No one wants that, right?
No. And while lots of organizations that I've been a part of talk about innovation and want to do it, a lot of people talk about it, but don't appropriately invest or experiment with innovation.
Right, right. And so it sounds like creativity and exploration is at the heart of the way you see innovation.
Absolutely.
And help me understand how that kind of breaks down in the corporate world from your point of view, as you talk about innovation not actually happening.
Sure. I think that in the corporate world, um, people principally are supportive of innovation because they see um, incredible case studies about how innovation changes lives, changes hearts and minds, um, increases revenue, decreases costs. So people get that innovation is important. But while they want to do it, oftentimes they don't know how to figure out an effective innovation process. So often an organization might create a special team, like a SWAT team, to think about innovation in that corner, in that tower over there by themselves,
Oh yeah.
and they're Their remit is to create this fantastic unicorn, a billion-dollar business, and then bring it back over to, the mothership, and then we'll scale it and sell it, and everything will be great.
Right.
I think in that process, we've missed a few tricks, and you can't separate innovation from the core business model of an organization or a business.
What are some of the implications of that when that does happen?
When you separate the head from the body, or in this case, like the heart from the body, it just doesn't work. Both pieces um, hurt from that. The team that's tasked with innovation may not get the proper um, nurture, feeding, investment, talent that it needs. It might not get the appropriate diversity of talents because you're probably putting people who are really great at innovation in a corner, but they might not have domain expertise. And it's really at that intersection between domain expertise and um, innovation, that domain agnostic, that something actually comes out of it. And also, if the organization doesn't have innovation in its DNA, then the organization might be too hesitant to try things that are risky. And that's truly when step change innovation happens.
Hmm. Well said. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think one of the key things you touched on there was uh, people tend to apply innovation and innovation thinking to new things, new products, new services, etc. Whereas it doesn't necessarily have to be um, applied to new things. The process of innovation is something that can improve existing processes, existing products, and it can be used, you know, in house as well.
Agreed.
So tell me what innovation isn't. What is innovation is not what?
Yeah, so we started talking a little bit about that. Innovation isn't just talking about it. Innovation is doing it and potentially failing and learning from those failures. Innovation isn't a one-time investment or hit. It's a whole way of being and thinking. And probably the best way to illustrate that is the fact that some people um, are in their personal lives are a bit more creative and exploratory. And that same concept could be applied to a whole team or organization. So if you continue to be curious about whatever you're working on, whatever widget you're working on, whatever process you're working on,
Hmm.
um, that's when innovation comes to life.
Tell me more about curiosity. What does that look like?
Um, Curiosity could be a couple of things. One is seeing some sort of thread loose on a sweater and just pulling at it, even though it
Hmm.
might not be the best thing to do because you just can't resist the urge to just pull and try to learn, hopefully, something cool before your sweater comes loose or before you become naked. Um, the other piece of curiosity is around taking external inspiration and applying it to your home base or your domain expertise. There's a lot of innovation that happens, to your point earlier, not because it's a brand new idea, but because it was an idea that exists in another context, another culture, another um, industry that, when applied to your home base domain, could radically change the product or how you view the current challenge.
Right. So curiosity in your mind can lead to ragged clothing, or it could lead to new applications,
Absolutely.
new ways of doing things. So not necessarily uh, a new problem to solve, but a new application of a solution, existing solution.
Yep, that's it.
The important thing here is that that having some sort of innate curiosity. So there's innovation at a corporate level, at a team level, and
Yes.
then there's what happens at an individual level. What makes a person innovative?
Yes.
And that I think your background in psychology and economics, and your current role at BP. Thinking about innovation at that individual level is really something I'd love to hear your thoughts on.
Sure. At the end of the day, any business or organization is just created by individual folks who have decided that day that they're going to come to work and that they are going to share their gifts and their energy. And if you have a pool of humans who are just coming to work to punch a card or to just copy the text from a book that already exists, then you would get one sort of product.
Mm,
Um, and if you have a pool of humans, talent, who comes into work wanting to solve problems, wanting to be creative, wanting to learn, wanting to inspire and to be inspired, you get a completely different product. And so I strongly feel that at the end of the day, we have to invest. We have to select for the right mindsets and behaviors to nurture and to incentivize that behavior. Because through the behaviors of one individual and then as a collective, a team, that's when new things can come out through creative conversations, problem solving, or even creative play and banter, something might come out.
right. Yeah, exactly. Like our sweater
Yes,
thread
yes,
pulling
yes, yes.
led to a great conversation. I can hear the passion in your voice as you talk about this at an individual level and finding the right people. How do you ensure that in your current role and in your past roles, if you're building a team at McKinsey, even what do you look for to make sure you're finding the right people?
So, in my current role, I am tasked to create a digital center of expertise. Um, BP is in oil and gas, and we have a new ambition to reinvent BP and reimagine energy. And we are trying to, and we know a fundamental building block is around having a different set of talent, both in terms of their digital expertise, so data science, coding, those things that you can learn, but
Hmm.
also that we have to optimize and choose people who are curious and open-minded and will continue to learn,
Right.
because the skills that people have today may not be the skills that are relevant tomorrow, and we really don't know what those skills are. But if we have a agile workforce who's always curious and is always learning, then we are then um, foolproof is not the right word,
Future proof.
future proof. That
Yeah.
is it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so in my work there, we identified definite areas where we need to build, where we're just lacking technical skills.
Hmm.
And we knew that the easy answer would likely to be go external and hire those folks who have those skills ready to go. But there was a curious alternative that I wanted to try first,
Hmm.
which was to see if there were people internally, because we have really smart people who actually, in their spare time, have developed their own digital skills, either self taught
Hmm.
or in formalized programs that they're doing in their spare time because they're highly motivated to continue to learn.
Interesting.
And we found that there was a very, very robust talent pool who were very excited about data science. And it makes sense because we have a huge workforce of people who have advanced math skills. And
Right.
as data science is developing, these folks have sought to just grow their skills because they're intellectually curious. And they have created algorithms and models in their spare time to try to predict the stock market or try to automate their own jobs so they could free up capacity to do other cool, fun things. And so I try to take stock of that internal landscape and then try to get support to create a reskilled class. So, identify a group of 10 or so folks who
Mm,
had the basic skills that we could take and then provide a bit more formal training so that they can build on their very strong foundation of advanced math and then their self taught layer of data science methodology, and then do a lot of on the job um, work and training
mm,
to
mm,
apply all of those things to data science. And I think that the cherry on the top is that these people are highly, highly motivated. So I knew that because their hearts and minds were in the right place, it would be very easy to upskill and reskill them to do so. And by doing that, A, we can take advantage of folks who have oil and gas domain expertise. B, there are folks who already understand the way that BP works and can get stuff done within the very
right.
large matrix organization. Um, and C, it really shows the organization that although we are evolving into a more digital organization, we're not leaving folks behind. That there are opportunity that if you are excited, if you are interested, if you want to, we can reskill. It's not,
Right.
it's not robots that's going to take over our jobs.
Right.
It could be you just taking over a new job.
Wow, that's wonderful. I think that's such a great message. It just in general, in terms of, I feel like people talk about this coming wave of automation and AI and all these other things, but there's always an element of evolution that we control, and it's the people who are able to evolve that will continue to play a critical role in the future. I think is what I'm taking from what you're saying.
Yeah, it's the people who want to innovate themselves.
Yeah,
Who are out there, trying new ideas, seeing what they like, and not stagnant and stuck in the way that things are done now, or don't hold too tightly the status quo.
I think the brilliance behind your approach is that you are able to observe what most people try to recruit for in an artificial interview environment, or by reading a resume or looking at experience. You can look at this person in their day-to-day world and see, are they curious? Are they motivated to learn and evolve and grow and develop new skills? So I think that that is a great model for how to think about recruiting in any digital or any other domain as we move forward. Because you're right. I mean, as we've learned from 2020, we don't know what tomorrow will bring, or next week, or next month, and it's not the people who have the skills that are relevant today that are going to win. It's the people who can quickly acquire the skills that are going to be relevant tomorrow. So I really, I think this, I think the vision of reimagining energy I think this is going to be the cornerstone of that, and I think you're playing a critical role in that.
It has been a really exciting experiment, and so far, so good.
Yeah.
From a business standpoint, we are delivering value, which is fantastic. From a talent perspective, people also seem to be responding really well. They feel that the company is now recognizing who they are, what they want to do,
Hmm.
rather than forcing them to do something that they might not, because just because you're good at something doesn't mean that's where your passion is.
Exactly.
And in a perfect world, we try to find that sweet spot between the Venn diagram of what you're good at and what you want to do.
Right.
Um, and so, but by investing in these folks this way, people are really excited about their new job, their new role, and actually creating something new.
That's fantastic. And I think, what you mentioned reminded me of an anecdote I read in a book once about NBA players. This NBA general manager was trying to figure out how to better evaluate players. And what he found was, a lot of the players who were 7 feet tall didn't like basketball that much. And it's something that it never would have crossed my mind. But when you're 7 feet tall and relatively coordinated, and live in the United States, basketball is going to be something that people push you toward, and
Yes.
you get rewarded for it, and and all of a sudden it's what you do for a living,
Yes.
and maybe you don't even like it. And so that is, I think, something that people can that happens more in corporate America than people realize. You're good at math, you should become an engineer.
Yes.
Oh, you should do this, you should do that. And you're 15 years into a career, and one day you go, I'm not sure that I even like this stuff that I do every day and am an expert at.
Is that why you became an engineer? Because you were good at math?
I became an engineer because the um, the PSAT. Do you remember that test? I don't know if
I
they even
did.
still give that.
I took it, but didn't do too good. Well,
the I doubt
that
that.
is why I didn't do too good.
So the you had to put down there. They asked for a major, and it was so that if you did
Yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah.
you could get a scholarship in that area.
Yeah, yeah. I remember
And
that.
so the lady at the front, the teacher at the front of the room that was moderating, I said, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know. She said, do you like math? And I said, yeah. She said, then you should be an engineer. And I said, okay. I said, well, there's several different kinds of engineers down here. And she said, well, whatever you do, don't pick chemical engineering because that's the hardest one. And so that's how I became a chemical engineer.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
How our lives take different paths? Because what if, because you're tall too. So what if she said basketball player?
Exactly. Exactly. I would be very hungry right now, looking for something else to do. But yeah, no, it's amazing the small moments in life that take you down these paths, and that's why I think things like reskilling, and focusing on ability to evolve, it's really inspirational to me as someone who started life as a chemical engineer, became moved into product development, and became a consultant and all these other things. uh, it's an important thing to let people know that innovation happens at the individual level, and it starts with not just your skills but with your willingness to be curious and build new muscles.
Yeah.
Now, talking about individuals and innovators, what, if any, advice would you have for innovators of the future, or people who want to become part of this great workforce you're building at BP?
Um, so I think in terms of the BP specific answer, it would be truly taking stock of it's that diagram that I mentioned before.
Hmm.
What are you good at? It's important to know what your strengths are and what are you passionate about. And hopefully there is an overlap somewhere between those two circles.
Yeah, exactly.
If not, you need to grow your circles a bit. So that's a very BP specific answer in terms of reskilling to be part of the digital evolution.
Hmm.
But in terms of broader advice for innovators of the world, it's being willing to test new ideas, um, to trust yourself and the universe a bit, to be that kid that you once were that liked to try new things just for the sake of trying. And if you try things and you like it, great, you learn something. And if you try something and you hate it because you did terrible, you probably learned something even bigger and more important.
Yeah.
And that process of trying and learning and iterating um, is how you will continue to evolve as an innovator in the world.
Thank you. That was great advice. That's great advice for me personally, and I'm sure it's going to be great advice for our listeners as well. Thank you so much, Hung, for hanging out with me for a little bit and sharing your thoughts with me and with the audience. I've benefited from your wisdom for years, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to share it with others. And I've tolerated your sense of humor as well. So I hope everyone else appreciated it as much as I always do.
Thank you, Jared. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Hung, thanks for joining us. We'd love to hear your thoughts about this week's show. You can drop us a line on Twitter at Outlast LLC. That's OUTLAST LLC. Or follow us on LinkedIn where we're Outlast Consulting. Until next time, keep innovating, whatever that means.